Hello, good morning, and welcome to Total Football Talk. And this is the channel which I'm just growing. I'm Keith, I'm the host, and I'm just going to bring in some Manchester United news today for you guys. I just want to say a big shout out to all the subscribers who've kind of joined the journey so far. I'm absolutely delighted to have you on board. Especially, I got Grumpy Daddy has 77 has made a really good point that I need to fix the sound. I'm only recording this off my phone at the minute, so I will look into that and I will fix the sound and I will get that sorted. But hopefully the quality of the content at this stage will just be enough to keep you guys with me as we can move through this journey and as I find my feet as well, because this is all kind of new to me. Anyone who does know me, I don't think anybody will be watching yet, is just I used to work behind the camera and now I'm working in front of the camera. So all the things that I used to try and help people with, I'm now trying to help myself with, and we'll see how we actually get on. But look, I'm in the UK. I'm based in Manchester. The weather's absolutely freezing. I do this in my loft, which is absolutely freezing as well at the minute. I do need to sort the heating out up here because it's just like a pure ice box. But anyway, let's jump straight into the news, and we'll start off with the thumb title, which we talked about Adidas, and obviously there's major concerns at the minute about United and their league position and where we are and what's potentially going to happen if the worst was to happen. I mean, I've kind of mentioned it a little bit before, the R word. Do we talk about relegation? Is it something that is going to happen? I mean, if it did happen, according to James Ducker in the Telegraph, James is talking about that there's the £900 million sponsorship deal that United currently have with Adidas. Do if they were to pull that out of United, I mean, I can't imagine the impact that that's going to have on the club from top to bottom. This is something that is be unprecedented. If first of all, not if United were to get relegated, because I know they got relegated in the late 70s, so it wouldn't be the first time it happened. But to have that amount of money potentially, whatever way that money's being taken out of the club would be, serious questions would have to be asked. And I can't believe that any of us are going to sit on their hands and just actually not do anything about this. I just can't see it. Surely they'll look at the implications of this and they'll find a way to sell some players in this January transfer window, which is now open, by the way. Like it's not like, oh, it's coming or it's in the post. It's right now. It's open now. Transfers could be coming in. Amran needs players now. The sooner he has them, the quicker he can turn these players in or fit them into the squad, get them into the system, and potentially get us playing better football. In the past, not just Ten Hag, all the managers seem to get their transfers so late in the summer that they never actually got. The pre-season was with some of the younger players and maybe players that were coming back from World Cups or European Championships or whatever it was. But very, very rarely did these players come in and actually get their opportunity to train with the squad, the new players throughout the preseason. So transfer windows open now. Come on, please, just find a way. If figure out who you want to sell, and then move on from there and bring these players in. Because if we, come back to the original point, if we were to drop all the way back down, God forbid, to that other division, the Championship, the sponsorship deal from Adidas absolutely be shocking. Because there's an option to kind of reduce the payments by 50%, which I think it's down to like 45 million. So if United were to drop here and all these implications were to take place, it could be devastating for the club. What would any of us do? Would they want to stick around? Would they want to try and dig United out of the Championship? I mean, I don't know. Would the Glazers want to be associated with a club that has kind of dropped off that much? Maybe they'd sell. In the comments, let me know if you guys would prefer us to get relegated, to drop down the division, just to clear the decks completely, get rid of everybody, get rid of the Glazers. Obviously, some of these players, I mean, parachute payments would help out. The way the parachute payments work in the Premier League, if you drop out and you drop into the Championship, you get parachute payments to kind of compensate for the wages that these guys were on, to make sure that you can still survive in that division. Now, obviously we're talking hypotheticals and we're talking worst case scenarios, but do we think that's actually going to happen? I have no idea. I mean, all I can hope for is, as I've said in previous videos, to try and get through the next two games. Liverpool, God, dread that. Moving along after that, then Arsenal in the cup. I mean, the cup games kind of maybe he needs a little bit of a cup run, but maybe we can get that in the Europa League. If we go out to Arsenal, I mean, yeah, it'll not be great, but um, you don't want to lose games. I actually don't know. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure whether that would be the right thing to do. Hopefully, we won't drop out of it, but hopefully, we can just manage whatever situation it is we're actually going to come up against. But as I said, so the implications are huge. I think we've got to avoid this. I think United have just got to get through the next two games. Start in, I think it's Southampton at home after that. We've got to then move on, move forward. And, I mean, that's a must win. There's no doubt, and as I said before, we have to actually win that game. It's just one of those things. And then kind of looking on. So, yeah, so please get your comments into whether you think the whole Adidas thing is is an issue, and what would this mean for United if it was to, if they were to lose this sponsorship deal, and would they clear the decks? Would the Glazers go? Would anyone else go? Would we get a full sale then? Would Guitar come back in, and if they were the other kind of people in place to take to submit a bid, would they come back in, clear the decks, and bring us back up? I mean, Jesus, I can't even believe I'm talking about this. But anyway, okay, so let's move on to the next little bit, and we'll look at sort of have United got anything in place for contracts? Worst case scenario, we did get relegated. Do these players have clauses in their contract to say that, that United can kind of reduce their fees? Because obviously they've reduced the fees for whenever United aren't in the Championship. Whenever United are not in the Championship, or sorry, the Champions League. Sorry, not the Championship. What I'm talking about. When United are not in the Champions League, the payments are reduced, I think, by 25%, or most of the players are anyway. Maybe the younger ones are not quite the same because they're in different contracts. But, all the more established players have got, so they're reduced. So that's to kind of cover the costs and maintain that, when you're not playing at that ultimate high standard of football, you're not getting those just rewards. But have they got clauses in the contracts to say, should the worst thing happen and they get relegated, would they be able to would parachute payments work? I mean, I think Adam Matic was kind of talking about it this morning, and Adam was or maybe it was yesterday, and Adam was talking about potentially some of these players don't have that in their contracts. And is that an oversight by Manchester United? Have United completely mess this up, should the worst happen, and then drop down and be completely financially unstable or unstable? How unstable could it get? I mean, yeah, the ramifications of that could be absolutely just horrendous for the club. So I don't really know where that one stands, but yeah, it could be absolutely a shocker. And so yeah, please drop it in. Any comments on that? Anything you'd like to kind of share? Any of your thoughts? Your worst feelings. Do you think this is going to happen? Personally, I still think that United have more than enough at the minute to, get them over the line and make sure that, I mean, it potentially, at best case, it'll be a mid-table battle, but maybe who knows, after that, maybe, yeah, can't see us going too much higher. But yeah, I'm kind of optimistically looking at it being a mid-table battle. I mean, these are words, again, I never thought I'd be having to say. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I just had my daughter poke her little head around the corner to tell me to smile a little bit more, because her and my wife have said I don't smile enough. So let me try and work on that one, guys. Okay, so obviously other little bits of information. There was the Rashford story that came out in the Sun, and as the Stratford Paddock always quote the Sun, or they don't actually quote the Sun, they bring up the other little bit of story, and they always say hashtag don't buy the Sun. For many reasons, the Sun have run awful stories in the past, and a lot of the stuff that they talk about is nonsense, and this kind of little story is part of maybe that, some of that, not nonsense, but they report on stuff that maybe isn't always as clear as day as maybe it should be. So Rashford obviously talks about, or they run a story saying they talked about kind of essentially having a go at Rashford, and Rashford's kind of come back with him with a tweet saying it's not true. It potentially talked about Rashford looking for new representation to potentially help move his contract, or move the contract situation along with United, as in potentially a move. But Rashford kind of come out with a tweet. Maybe you've seen it, was all over social media, saying that Rashford is not looking for a new representation, and that the Sun have maybe got this wrong. So that's just out there in the that's out there in the social media sphere at the minute. So Yeah, on the Rashford story, I don't know. I still think Rashford's maybe going to stay here. I still think Amarin's going to have to potentially look at using him, because I believe that there's no way this guy can sit on the bench and not be used for the amount of wages he's on. And I believe that at some stage, maybe even for the Liverpool game, Rashford may play. He may come back in. Obviously, he was part of the squad against the Newcastle game, but I think he's potentially going to have to be used. I just don't know. There was still talk, rumors about Paris Saint-Germain coming in for him. Do we think Paris Saint-Germain are going to come in for him? Do we actually think they're going to come in and give us a respectable fee and pay all his wages? Interesting one. So the transfer window is open, and let's see how we get on. Let's see what actually happens. And just kind of segueing on from the whole transfer debacle of players. Apparently, Real Madrid are also looking at the race to buy Diego Dallo. Now, as I've said before, Dallow's played out of position a lot on the left hand side. He's been very good, he was being very good on the right hand side when he was playing for Ten Hag. He was okay on the left side for Ten Hag. He give it everything. He's a total professional. Even Ronaldo talks about him in training, saying he's absolutely, he's fantastic. His work ethic is unbelievable. His desire, he stays behind. He does shooting practice. I mean, I'm not entirely sure if the shooting practice is coming off the minute, because some of his shots are a bit wild and over the bar. But he's a consummate professional. I think he's even probably got potential captain qualities. I just think he's been awful this season. He just hasn't found his form. I really, really feel for the lad, because he's he's a total pro, but he cannot find his feet. Left side, it's just not working. His work ethic's brilliant, but defensively he struggles, and going forward he just can't seem to whip a ball in with his left foot to give the striker or whoever's kind of entering into the box, Hoyland or whoever else, the opportunity to get onto these crosses. And a bugbear of mine is, I'll get on it in other shows, the left foot and the right foot and the inverted wingers. Oh Jesus, it drives me crazy. Please, I love the days when we had Giggs and Beckham, and please, can football revert back to a little bit of just two wide men with right foot, left foot, whipping crosses in, beating your man, whipping a cross in, whatever it was. These guys were just, as football goes on, you just realize how unbelievable they were. And if anyone hasn't ever seen any of that stuff, check out YouTube. Go and have a look at David Beckham, Ryan Giggs, just whipping crosses in, beating their man. I mean, Beckham didn't even have, he wasn't the quickest, but my God, he just needed half a yard, whip a cross in. Unbelievable. Giggs could beat his man, whip a cross in. Yeah, phenomenal. I'd love to get back to those days. I digress. Let's get back into it. So, said Real Madrid talking about the race for Diego Dallo. There's talk about 50 million. Are we serious? Do you think Real Madrid are going to give us 50 million for Diego Dallo? I mean, it'd be brilliant. And I think now, because we need to strengthen the squad, and because a lot of this money would be, Diego's not, Dallo's not he's not a youth member that's come through the team, but we only paid about 18, 19 million for him, and the way the depreciation works, see Simon Jordan for this one. He knows this a lot better than I do. Players depreciate like cars. So, if we were to sell him now for 50 million, it's almost like 90% profit. So a lot of that money would be able to go back into the club, because we've had 7 years service out of him. I know he spent some time at AC Milan, but on the whole, we've had him for 7 years. He would come up as 90, 85, 90% profit would be absolutely brilliant. 50 million going back into the budget, but will it go back in? Please, for the love of God, if you sell players in EOS and Glazers, please put this money back into the club so we can actually reinvest it and make it so that we can drive this team forward on the pitch. And if he goes, is Nuno Mendes is he the replacement? Is he the one that we're desperately seeking? Now, I've kind of had a quick look at his injury record, and he hasn't played that much this year, but I think it's more out of form than injury. It looks like he's injury free at the minute. He has had previous injuries in the past, which have kind of hampered his kind of progress a little bit, but he's still a brilliant left back or wing back, should I say, and plays for Portugal, plays for PSG, very, very good. I think he would be a great upgrade on Dallo, and hopefully we can do a deal where we can get him at a reasonable price. I think he's coming into the last 2 years of his contract, so hopefully we could, but it has to happen now. Like, come on, Ineos and the Glazers, the people who run this goddamn club, please make it happen now. bring him in. If you're going to do that, if Dalot in Madrid is a potential and Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't going to leave Liverpool, or even if he is, try and see whether this deal is possible. Make it happen. Let us get in someone on the left hand side at least, and then maybe get the opportunity to put Diallo, Ahmad back on the right wing, and then that way Højlund or whoever else is playing up front will have a little bit more service, and hopefully Bruno will stop playing the Hollywood balls and all the rest of it. But yeah, so that's that little bit on that. That's the update on kind of Diego Dallo and all the rest of it. And the transfer news in terms of that. And just on a final little note, I was watching the BBC documentary on Alex Ferguson last night. Oh my God. I've seen some of them. I've seen the Beckham one recently on Netflix, which is absolutely brilliant. Well worth checking out. But these documentaries, I know Manchester United History Channel here. We said that we kind of where we were before Sir Alex arrived, where we were during his period, and even with his period, which was unbelievable, we still had ups and downs. We still had periods where things didn't go well. There was patches where he didn't win the league and he was rebuilding squads and all that kind of stuff. But the journey was unbelievable, and the man was just a legend. He's a living legend. It's unbelievable what he's done what one man has done for this particular club is just crazy. Him and Sir Matt. God, how do we ever find people who were in the history of this club to ever replicate any of the stuff that these guys have done? We've tried and failed so many times. I'm praying that Amarin's given the opportunity, that he's given the money, he's given the time, and that these players actually start putting belief into the performances. Because when you watch that documentary, it's unbelievable. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking to look at it and go, we were once a brilliant club. We're maybe still the biggest club in the world, but we're not playing like the biggest club in the world. We are playing like a mid-table team in the Premier League, and that's exactly what we are, and that's where we are. And just to be able to get those standards back, for the love of God, please make it work. Please just give us the opportunity, the Glazers and Ineos, to at least start making headway. And I suppose that's where we are with it all. But yeah, check out the documentary, Alex Ferguson. It also looks at his time at Aberdeen. The guy's a genius. He's a pure and utter genius for what he was able to do. Unbelievable work ethic. Scottish lad from Govan. It's just really brilliant doc. Well worth a watch. And on that note, guys, I shall leave it there today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please give us a like, subscribe, and share. And I'll have another update tomorrow. And also, as I said, we'll try and work on the sound. We'll try and fix all these little issues. And as I grow, hopefully I'll get a bit more equipment. Maybe we'll go live and we'll do this live and I'll speak to you and you can kind of chat to me. And you can get your comments in, good, bad, or indifferent. All right, guys, thanks. I'll see you in the next one.